Yo tenía curiosidad.
I was curious about a lot of different things.
However, when Marcos was a child growing up in Ambato, Ecuador, his life wasn't all that typical. He essentially grew up in a home without parents, without their guidance or affection.
Constante el tiempo que iba pasando.
Constantly, the time that was passing, my brother was always taking care of me, perhaps always watching me, calling me, but I didn't want anything because we were totally divided.
Bueno, yo tenía muchas preocupaciones porque yo era prácticamente como...
I had a lot of worries because I was practically the one who raised my siblings. So I went through life always worried about him.
The road for Marcos got harder. He turned to drinking, drugs, and sex.
Yo quería terminar mi vida, en realidad.
He didn't just want to. Several times Marcos tried.
Oh, lo siento.
I'm sorry.
Es algo fuerte volver.
It's something that is difficult to remember this again. I spent a lot of time worrying about my siblings, about when they might call me to tell me that he's dead.
Marcos still did not realize who he was or where he was going.
Tenía un bajo autoestima.
I had a very low self-esteem,
Un autoestima del cual
in which I thought that I was the most rejected in this world.
de este mundo.
In 2013, Marcos' life took another turn. That year, he was introduced to a group of young people about his age who had moved to Ambato to serve his city as part of Extreme Nazarene. David, who is a part of that group, remembers meeting Marcos one night at a Bible study that he was invited to by his sister.
Marcos, I think at the time, probably could convince you that he was a follower of Jesus, but he really was a follower of the church where he could play guitar.
And that's exactly what Marcos had in mind, to use his musical talents in a young church's worship band. However, before that could happen,
And then I said, well, you first need to attend an encounter, a spiritual retreat for new believers.
Marcos agreed to go and went. And all that he had experienced in his life up until that point, the drastic and hard, perhaps nothing was as life-changing to Marcos as what happened that weekend.
Me enseñaron que el punto específico y clave de la vida es
They taught me that the specific key to life is God, Jesus, who is always enough, with me wherever I go, and his promises are always fulfilled.
Podemos abrir la palabra en Proverbios, el capítulo 1.
And his identity was no longer based in his performance or what he could do, but who he was.
And who he was got more involved in his faith, the church, and helping to lead it.
Le fuimos involucrando en el ministerio de alabanza.
We were involved in the ministry of worship. That was a very important role, and he was helping to lead the houses of prayer. And in that sense, he was supporting the church during the time the 4040s were here.
When David and his team left Ambato in 2015, they left behind trained leaders like Marcos to continue growing the church. But Marcos was not destined to stay in his home city.
Dije, Dios, yo necesito servirte de otra manera.
I said, God, I need to serve you in another way. I want to know what is a missionary. I want to be a missionary, helping the people, giving the word of life to the people.
And now Marcos is doing just that. He's the first ever 4040 missionary to come from an Extreme Nazarene church plant. A disciple now helping to make other disciples and share hope. Jose Luis could not be happier for his brother and remembers when Marcos shared with him his new calling.
Entonces hubo la oportunidad de decir,
It was an opportunity to say, wow, I want to be a missionary. I want to share what happened to me. I don't want that to happen to others. I want to share the good news.
Marcos is now a part of a team that is planting a church in Latacunga, Ecuador. That's where he'll be for 2 years, working alongside other Ecuadorians, but also Brazilians and young adults from the US. God is using Marcos, his talents, and even his past to make a difference in the lives of others.
Marcos' past is ugly, but that's how many of our stories are. And so I just think what could happen if anybody, regardless of what their past is, would just say yes to God.
And Marcos continues to say yes. He is walking out his faith, and leading others to do the same.
Mis pensamientos hoy es
My thoughts today are to be a person that can help others with the Word,
ser una persona que pueda
to be a person that wants to continue on with what God has called me to do.